gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the greatest show on Earth. That is the AC show, the greatest show on YouTube. But we're not that tonight. We are Jab tonight.
Glad you like that one.
We're gonna jab at your feelings and your emotions and just screw with you tonight, guys.
Hello, Tim Cahoon. Tim is in chat and said hi to me.
I see.
He didn't say hi to you and you.
Nope. You know
That's
what, though?
Me. What?
Tim is cool, though. We still like him. Staying moist.
So tonight
Hydrating
we are going to
insides.
talk about a couple of different things. So there was in which magazine?
Really cool news article, though.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a
We
really
got a
cool
hello.
news article. Hello.
Hey, Tim gave me a hello. Hey, I feel so special. I feel not left out. I feel left in.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the article was on warp drives, and I thought it was really cool because we're all big nerds about space and everything around here. So I figured we'd kind of dive into that first. I got a video to play, and so we will have that go.
Are we gonna live? Oh man, it would be great if we could be just silhouettes in the corner of the video. All right, yeah, no, let's do this thing.
Oh, down
No,
at the
no.
bottom of the video.
Yeah.
I'll be Crow. You can be Servo.
Just repeat to yourself, it's just a show. Should really just relax.
Not too distant future. Also, I want to say real quick before we get going. Hi, Daryl, because my buddy Daryl in Houston just sent me a picture via text that he's watching us on his TV.
Awesome.
All right, I had to close that off and then put it back on to make sure we had audio.
And do we?
Yeah, well, the video should have audio now. Whenever I hit play.
So it's a good audio.
Yes. All right, I will make this go in full screen.
As many others, I became interested in
hear
physics
it?
by reading too much science fiction.
By reading too
Teleportation,
much, there's
levitation,
no such thing.
and all that I thought was super fascinating. But of course, the depressing part of science fiction is that it's not real. So to some
The
extent,
depressing part of
I
science fiction is that it is fiction.
find out which science fiction technologies
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
chance
that's why it's
to
called
one day become
fiction.
real technologies. Today, I want to talk about warp drives because I think on the spectrum from fiction to science, warp drives are on the more scientific end. And just a few weeks ago, a new paper appeared about warp drives that puts the idea on a much more solid basis. But first of all, what is a warp drive? In the science fiction literature, a warp drive is a technology that allows you to travel faster than the speed of light or superluminally by warping or deforming space-time. The
Which
idea
technically
is that
anything
by
with
warping
mass can
space-time,
do.
you can beat the speed of light barrier. This
You just
is
need
not
enough
entirely
mass.
crazy for the following
But,
reason. Einstein's theory of general relativity
love the way
says
she
you
says
cannot accelerate
Einstein.
objects from below to above the speed of light because that would take an infinite amount of energy. However, this restriction applies to objects in space-time, not to space-time itself.
No, what's it called when a curve goes straight
Space-time
vertical?
can bend, expand, or warp at
Going
any speed.
ballistic?
Indeed, physicists
No.
think
There's a
that the
mathematical
universe
term
expanded
for
faster
that.
than the speed of
I
light
thought
in
there
its very
was
early
asymptotic
phase.
where it would get close
General
to it and never quite
relativity
reach
does
zero.
not forbid
Yeah, that's the
this.
point.
There are
Is
2 points I
asymptotic
want to
means you got to
highlight
divide
here.
by zero,
First,
which means
it is
infinite
a really
energy
common
required. So
misunderstanding, but Einstein's theories of special and general relativity
I am never going to
do
get tired
not
of the way
forbid
she says
faster-than-light
Einstein.
motion.
Einstein.
You can very well
saying
have
it right.
objects in these theories
Yeah.
that move faster than the speed of light.
Hey, there he is.
Neither does this faster-than-light travel
Einstein.
necessarily lead to causality paradoxes. I explained this in an earlier
Look
video.
more like Rick.
Instead, the problem is that, according to Einstein, you cannot accelerate from below to above the speed
Still
of
not
light.
tired of it.
So the problem is really crossing the speed of light barrier, not
So once you're
being
already
above it.
at the speed
The
of light,
second
you're
point
good.
I want to emphasize
Or
is
no,
that the
deceleration
term
then
warp
becomes
drive
impossible.
refers
This is true.
to a propulsion system that relies on the warping of space-time. But just because you are using a warp drive does not mean you have to go faster than light. You can also have slower than light warp drives. I know that sounds somewhat disappointing, but I think it would be pretty cool
It's still
to move
faster than what
around
we
by
do
warping
now.
space-time at any speed. Warp drives
Isn't that
were
kind of
a
like
fairly vague
being
idea
sucked along
until
by
in
the gravitational pull
1994,
of something else that's
Miguel
going really
Alcubierre
fast?
found a way to make them
So it's
work
basically
general
like
relativity.
when you're on the
This
freeway and you're
idea is
behind a
now
semi
called
truck
the
and you get into
Alcubierre
the
drive.
slipstream.
The
You're
explanation
drafting.
that you
Yeah.
usually
Yes.
get for how the Alcubierre drive works is that you contract space-time in front of you and expand
Just
it
clench
behind
it.
you, which moves you forward. That didn't make sense to you, just among us. It never made sense to me either, because why would this allow you to break the speed of light barrier? Indeed, if you look at Alcubierre's mathematics, it does not explain how this is supposed to work. Instead, his equations say that this warp drive requires large amounts of negative energy. This is bad. It's bad because,
negative waves,
well,
man.
there
Well, it's
isn't
because it's
any
so
such
negative
thing as
energy.
negative energy.
Man.
And
Negative
even if you
the
had
problem
this
is,
negative energy,
I
that
think
would not
2020 has
explain
given us
how you
plenty of
break the
negative
speed of
energy.
light barrier.
We've
So
got
We
how
it.
should
We've
does
got
it
it.
work?
use that negative
A
energy.
few weeks ago, someone sent me a
But then that's
paper
why it
that
feels like it's
beautifully
been
sorts
1,000
out
years.
the confusion surrounding warp drives. To understand my problem with the Alcubierre drive, I have to tell you briefly how general relativity works. General relativity works by
Yes.
solving Einstein's field equations.
Let us
Here they are.
briefly
I know
describe
this looks somewhat
relativity.
intimidating, but the overall structure is fairly easy to
I don't know. I say
understand.
1/2 in
It
there.
helps if you try to ignore all these
8
small
pi,
Greek
that's not
indices
hard.
because they really just say that there is an equation for each combination of directions in space-time. More important is that on the left side, you have these R's. The R's quantify the
What
curvature
are they
of
for?
space-time.
Yeah,
And
see,
on the
I
right
wanted to make a
side, you
joke
have
about this,
T.
but this is math.
T
Come on,
is called the stress energy
let's
tensor,
not point out
and
the
it
fact that
collects
she's
all kinds of energy densities and mass densities.
This
That
is
includes
general
pressure
relativity.
and
You
her
know,
energy
R's
flux
is
and
hanging
so
out.
on.
yeah.
Einstein's
When you
equations
advance
then tell
beyond
you that
general
the
relativity,
distribution
you
of
get into
different types
lieutenant
of energy
general
determines the
relativity,
curvature, and the
followed by major
curvature in
general
return determines
relativity.
how the
Yeah,
distribution
yeah.
of the stress energy changes. The way you normally solve these equations
Don't
is
forget
to use
brigadier
a
general
distribution of
relativity.
energies and masses at some initial time. Then you
Left
can
bridge.
calculate what the curvature is at an initial time,
There we
and
go.
you can calculate how the energies and masses will move around and how the curvature changes with that. So this is what physicists usually mean by a solution of general relativity. It is a solution for a distribution of mass and
That's
energy.
general relativity
But
dissolved in
you
water.
can
Yeah, I was going to say,
some
this
other-
whole time I
any
thought a solution
space-time,
was when you
put it
dissolved it
into
in
the
water.
left
Well,
side of
what do I
Einstein's
know?
equations. And
If
then
you're not part
the
of the
equations
solution,
will
you're
tell
part
you
of the
what the
precipitate.
distribution of
That's
mass
right.
and energy would have to be to create this space-time. On a purely technical level, these space-times will then indeed be
Well, you know, Tim, the best
solutions
part
to
about having
the
a lot of printer
equations
blocks to keep
for
busy on the
whatever
fly
is
is you
the
just need a
stress
3D
energy
printer and you
tensor
can
you
make
get.
as many printer blocks
The problem
as you
is that
want.
in this case, the energy distribution which is required to get a particular space-time
No,
is in
Brian,
general
listen,
entirely
if we could run this
unphysical.
thing on
And
dad jokes,
that's the
Brian could get
problem
us
with
to
the
Alpha
Alcubierre
Centauri.
drive. It is a solution to general relativity, but in and by
I guess
itself,
that's
this
beta
is a
than
completely
nothing.
meaningless statement.
See?
Any
See?
space-time
We're
will
halfway
solve
there.
the equations of
That one
general
was a stretch,
relativity,
though.
provided
well,
you
you know,
assume that you
we are
have a
stretching
suitable
space-time here.
distribution of masses and energies to create it. The real question is therefore not whether a
Do not
space-time
fold,
solves
spindle, or
Einstein's
mutilate
equations,
space-time.
but whether the distribution of mass and energy required to make it a solution to the equations is physically reasonable. And for the Alcubierre drive, the answer is multiple no's. First, as I already said, it requires negative energy.
Multiple no's.
Second,
No,
it
no.
requires a huge amount of that. Third, the energy is not conserved. Instead, what you actually do when you write down the Alcubierre spacetime is that you just assume you have something that accelerates it beyond the speed of light barrier. That
when you
it's
assume-
beyond the barrier is why you need negative energies.
hit space-time,
and
not-
that it accelerates
Yeah.
is why you need to feed energy into the system. Please check the info below the video for a technical comment about just what I mean by energy conservation here. Let me then
Or
get
else.
to the new paper. The new paper is titled Introducing Physical Warp Drives, and it was written by Alexei Bobrik and Gianni Martire. I have to warn you that this paper has not yet been peer-reviewed, but I've read it and I'm pretty confident it will make
Only
it.
been reviewed by
In this
enemies.
paper,
That's
Bobrik
right.
and Martire describe the geometry of
Well,
a
no, I
general
mean, it's-
warp drive spacetime.
So it's possible
warp
that
drive
we're going to pick
geometry
this
is
sucker apart
basically
and
a
go,
bubble.
yeah, no,
It
it's
has
not
an
working.
inside region,
I mean, it's
which they
it's-
call the passenger area.
Yep.
In the passenger area,
where
spacetime is
time
flat,
is not warped.
so there are no
Yeah.
gravitational
The
forces.
passenger drop.
Then the warp drive has a wall of some sort of material that surrounds the passenger area. And then it has an outside region. This outside region has
And
the
if I remember in
gravitational
the
field
paper,
of the
it's
warp
not
drive itself,
tear-shaped.
but the
It's kind of
gravitational field
lateral.
falls off, and in the
something.
far
Hey, look, there's
distance,
that
one
word
has
that I
normal
remembered.
flat spacetime.
Yeah.
This is important so you can embed the solution into our actual universe. What makes this fairly general construction a warp drive is that the passage of time inside of the passenger area can be different from that outside
Well,
of
that
it.
also increases
That's
with
what you need
gravitational
if you have
pull.
normal objects like your
Right.
warp drive
Bigger
passengers
gravity well.
and want to move them
Bigger
faster
gravity well
than
you
the
have,
speed of
the
light. You
slower
cannot
time
break
goes.
the speed of light barrier for the passengers themselves relative
So.
to space-time.
No, and
So instead,
the thing is, this
you
is all
keep them
very, very
moving
exciting.
normally in the bubble,
And I
but then
can't wait
you
to
move
see
the bubble
somebody
itself
produce a
superliminally.
prototype.
As I
'Cause
explained
that's-
earlier,
That's
the
be
relevant
awesome.
question is
The
then,
theory is the
what
first
does
step.
the wall of the passenger area
But we got
have
to
to
have
be
the
made
rubber
of?
hit the road at some
Is
point,
this
you know,
a physically possible
without any
distribution
actual
of mass
rubber.
and energy?
Or-
Bobrik and Martire
or
explain
roads.
that if you
Where
want
we're going,
superluminal
we
motion,
don't
We don't
you
need
need
roads.
negative energy densities. If you want acceleration, you need to feed energy and momentum into the system. And the only
Because
reason
it's
the
hungry
Alcubierre
for that.
drive
It
moves
needs that.
faster than the speed of light is that one simply assumed it does. Suddenly, it all makes sense. I really like this new paper because to me it has really demystified warp drives. Now, you may find this somewhat of a downer because really it says that we still don't know how to accelerate to superluminal speeds. But I think this is a big step forward because now we have a much better
least we're
mathematical
walking
basis
now.
to study warp drives.
Yeah.
For example, once you know how the warped spacetime looks like, the question comes down to how much energy do you need to achieve a certain acceleration. Bobrik and Martire show that for the Alcubierre drive, you can decrease the amount of energy by seating passengers next to each other instead of behind each other, because the amount of energy required depends on the shape of the bubble. The flatter it is in the direction of travel, the less energy you
One
need.
would think the opposite.
For other warp
Yeah,
drives,
well, I mean,
other
that was the
geometries may
basis
work
of the
better.
Enterprise
This
being
is
the
the
shape
kind of
that it
question
was.
you
We
can
thought
really
that
only
that,
address if you have
and they
the
were also
mathematics
saying
in
that the
place.
engines were
Another
generating the
reason
warp, and
I
that
find
the
this exciting is
the
that while
dish
it
was
may look
writing
now
the
like
warp,
you can't do
but then it still went
superluminal
warp
warp
drive
drives,
when they
this is only
detached the
correct
dish.
if
Yeah,
general
science fiction,
relativity is
so it's
correct.
fine.
And
Yeah.
maybe it is not. Astrophysicists have introduced dark matter and dark energy to explain what they observe. But it is also
They've also
possible
introduced
that general
pentagrams and black
relativity is
candles.
ultimately not the
Oh,
correct
no.
theory
No.
for spacetime.
That's dark
What
energy.
does this mean for warp drives? We don't know,
Yeah,
but
no,
now
that's
we have the
far too
mathematics to study this question.
Far too dark.
So I think this is a really neat
far
paper,
too dark
but it
energy.
also shows that research is a double-edged sword. Sometimes, if you look closer at
Okay,
a really
I'm less
exciting
I'm less
idea,
taken
it
with the
turns
way
out
that
to
she
be
says
not so
sword than the
exciting.
way that she
And
said
maybe you'd
Einstein.
rather not have known.
But I guess
Well,
if
But
you
I
get one,
think
you
the
get the
only
other.
way to make progress is to
True.
not
Your
be
sword
afraid of
secrecy.
learning more. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Okay, bye. Thank you for
So-
presenting. That was actually pretty interesting.
No, it really was. For as silly as we are about it, it's super, super, super exciting.
Oh yeah.
I read a short story a while ago called "The Road Not Taken" by Harry Turtledove, and I've been frantically searching for it, and I found it finally. If you guys get a chance, you should look it up. But the story kind of posits the idea that anti-gravity and faster than light travel are not only possible, but actually really, really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the sort of thing that we should have figured out a long time ago, but we just never went down that road. And as a consequence, we continued to develop other technologies like metallurgy and advanced flight and stuff like that, so that when we get attacked by the aliens who discovered anti-gravity and faster than light travel way early in their evolution, like we could have done, and when they land with wooden spaceships and line up in lines with their single shot muskets a la colonial level, and we start blowing them out of the air with our F-15s, and then we dissect their technology and we're like, oh crap, we could have done this. And they're like, oh my goodness, what did we just do? We just handed this to these people they're going to destroy the universe because they're way ahead, and now they have this technology. And it was a fun story. Also, the aliens in that story bore a striking resemblance to giant teddy bears. So we were attacked by colonial teddy bears.
That's actually kind of funny.
It was great. It was a great story, but it also was a very poignant story. The thought that maybe we could be doing warp drive now. Maybe we could be doing anti-grav now, and we just never figured. We never put the two and the two together that makes it, or the square root of -1 and the square root of -1 to make the one. I don't know. We never figured it out.
We couldn't tie.
I just found it as a PDF. I'll put. Can I put the link in chat?
You should
for
be able
everybody.
to.
For all 2 people that are watching.
For the Turtledove road not traveled.
Yep.
It says we've got 5 watching, so.
Okay.
But and I found a PDF of it if you want. Here, I'll put that in chat.
That's what I just
Brian just did.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. Sit down and read it. It's a fun story, but it's also a very thought-provoking story because what if the answer really is that
Y'all
simple?
wait for me. I'll be done in a few minutes.
It is a short story. It's 20 pages, but it's a fun one. And hello, Mr. Walligator.
But so I wanted to kind of pop this in because I saw the article and I was like, just started nerding out over it, just reading it, and I'll pop it into down below a little bit later once we're done with the show, so everyone can just kind of go and read the article, the paper on it themselves, compared to what she just did. Because I was just going to have us read the article, but then there's the video of her kind of explaining it, which made it a little bit better.
She did a much better job of it.
So, well, and you're a professor, so I was just going to have the professor read it.
Hey, professor.
I'll just put on my ASMR voice and just read the whole thing like this.
There you go.
Now I feel like I'm watching one of your Blender tutorials.
The reason those are like that is because at the time I was very sensitive about not waking my kids up, which I should be sensitive now because my kids are sleeping in the other room. So I'll do the rest of the video like this for you guys if you'd like.
Thank you. That'll be really nice. I think I would appreciate that.
But yeah, I wanted something really thought-provoking to go into the video and just kind of talk about, and just kind of, we could possibly in the next 20 years have FTL, possibly.
Well, and what would be the implications of that?
Or STL.
I've got a video about that.
But it's still faster than what we travel now. So.
Well, and that's the thing. Imagine if we could use that even terrestrially. We could live wherever we want and work wherever we want, and our commute would be 2 seconds.
Well, yeah, like it wouldn't take 4 years to get to Mars, and that's on the good rotations of the planets. That's on the shortest passings to get 4 years to get to Mars. So it could cut it down to maybe 2 years. You can cut that down to 2 years. Imagine
it could cut it down to 8 minutes. Because the speed of light between here and Mars is 8 minutes.
But I'm saying slower than that, but faster than what we travel now. Even if it was just 2 years, that is exponentially faster to get there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is pretty cool, and just the thought that we could actually do that possibly in 20 years or so.
Part of the problem is, though, we haven't found anything on the moon or on Mars that is abundant there, but in rare supply here, and would make it. Because really, that's the only thing that's going to keep us going.
Sure, there is real estate.
Well, it's lousy real estate. I mean,
but if you want land, if you want a lot of land, that's the place to go.
You don't want to have to keep shipping water.
That's true.
Although on Mars we do have water, so
yeah, they there is the theory on having. I'm trying to remember. They did it on the Martian, to where they had the ships, to where it would convert the hydrogen.
Yeah, he on the Martian he made his own water by taking their hydrogen that they use for fuel and just burning it. And when that happens, it combines with water, and it combines with oxygen, and it turns into water. And you could do that experiment at home. But the funny thing about that is the easiest way to get the hydrogen for your experiment is to use electrolysis and extract it from water.
Yeah. No, there is a way with the atmosphere there, because it's low atmosphere. But there's still some where you can extract from the atmosphere. You can extract the moisture and stuff and obtain it that way.
There is water in the soil of Mars, and so potentially they could mine ice and get some degree of water. Now, is it enough to sustain a population? There was once, they think, water running across the surface of Mars. So where did that all go? Did it just vaporize and then just kind of travel out into space?
Well, you watch Doctor Who. You watch Doctor Who, Joe. You know it's frozen down below with all these microbes in there. That's just going to turn us into zombies.
That's going to turn us into zombies with weird, creepy cracks
like
across our
cracks
face.
Across our face, and we just spew water everywhere that will infect others.
Well, of course, in Doctor Who, there were also Martians. The Martian army down there. So which they were cool. They had the. I don't know how I felt about the one where he took off his helmet and he was just a little lizard dude inside a big human-shaped suit. I guess it makes sense, but why was
I
it
didn't
human-shaped
see that one, but I can
place?
almost imagine that, and then just saved a
So-
lot of money on my car insurance.
The episode you're talking about is the one where they're in the sub underneath the ocean.
Well, so those creatures, those Martians, were introduced in Tom Baker's run in Doctor Who.
Yes,
and they were always just dudes in armor. And then with Peter Capaldi. No, was that Peter Capaldi?
It was Capaldi's.
Or was that Matt Smith?
Was that
Capaldi?
It was Capaldi.
Yeah, but with Capaldi, they brought him back, and they said, no, it's not a dude in armor. It's a dude in an Iron Man. It's a lizard man in an Iron Man suit.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, but yeah.
So,
nerding out, guys. We're
the ice on Mars is dry, carbon dioxide. Is it really? I mean, that's your co-host saying that. So, he's a science teacher, but
he's not on the show tonight, so he's just a viewer.
Yeah, but
burn.
The ice queen is waiting for you there.
Nice for you to pop on.
Hi, Chris. I'm sorry that your regular co-host is being mean to you.
I'm sorry for whatever reason didn't made it so you couldn't come on tonight. I hope everything's going okay for you.
Everything's fine.
He just got
I'm
tired
having
of
to
you.
hold these two guys up.
It's a whole. There it is.
Well, you know, it is jab, so we have to take a jab at him now and again.
Ow.
Just did
Stop
a
it.
robotics competition about Mars. We studied it quite a bit. So is it really carbon dioxide? But that's not water. That's carbon.
And dioxide.
Well, then 2 oxygens, yeah, but there's no
I mean-
hydrogen in it.
Yeah.
2 oxygens walk into a carbon.
It gets really cold.
That's funny.
Kim Stanley's book, Red Mars, Green Mars, are about colonizing Mars. Yes, they are, but those were written in the 80s and are very fiction in their science. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm at Disney World right now and didn't think I would be back in. Okay, shut up. I have no sympathy for you anymore. You just.
Hi, Dan.
Hey,
Dan.
Danny boy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, what if we could have faster and light travel? Now, what I really hope is when they figure it out that it doesn't require, the level of fuel consumption that we currently need to get our butts off the Earth.
Well, as much as I don't like nuclear power, we could do what we do with the subs and have a nuclear powered warp drive.
If it can be electrically powered,
Yeah, if it can be
yes.
electrically powered,
yes.
then we could actually do that and have it so it's not gonna.
For all we need,
run
all
out.
we know though, it's going to require coal, and we're going to need somebody shoveling it into the furnace again,
Or steam.
or steam.
Is anyone besides me disappointed when they found out that a nuclear power plant is essentially just a steam generation plant, and we're just
No,
it's like
I'm with you on that.
It's not some awesome kind of energy that's like just being converted
they're not
into
putting
electricity.
They're not putting like arrays around the thing and just picking up the things and turning them in, picking up the photons and turning them into. No, they just put
pouring water on it, and making steam, and turning.
Yeah, you're just boiling water. You're just boiling water.
Just boiling water, but you're boiling water with a rock that doesn't need, coal or fuel to burn. It just is hot. It's just a rock that's hot for no good reason.
Yeah, but then it also has waste byproduct.
It's also not one you would want to keep in your pocket.
No. I mean, we don't mind keeping radioactive phones in our pocket, but no, we don't want to keep this in our pocket.
Well, this isn't going to run a power plant either.
No. And it's going to give us cancer in a course of 200 years. Whereas isotope.
That's why I'm glad I'm
92
not a
or whatever.
lab rat.
That you know of, Brian.
Yeah, I was gonna say, aren't we all lab rats in the end?
But so yeah, that would be kind of a cool thing to have in the near future.
There's a lot of questions left unanswered. There's a lot of the first person who gets a prototype out is going to when this thing becomes real, it's going to answer a lot of questions. Well, yeah, they might make bank too, but there's going to be a lot of questions answered that day.
Yeah. And more questions.
And more questions. Yes.
But yeah, Chris said that the new Mars rover has nuclear power that powers its batteries.
Yep. No, it doesn't. Does it?
That's what he said.
Cool. Well, yeah.
But they also have it so it has the little
massively multiplayer role something G battery.
Yeah. Anyway, it's got that little drone so it can go and take samples throughout
they put a helicopter on it. That just blows my mind. I love that.
I'm glad that there is enough atmosphere there for it to actually work.
Well, it was kind of funny because they were like, yeah, we don't have enough atmosphere for the way it flies here, so we're gonna have to make the wings bigger and flatter and change the tilt of them. But gravity is lower, so we can go back a little bit the other direction. I'm like, I agree. The fun that they must have had crunching those numbers and figuring that out and going, Well, add 25% and let's call it good.
Yeah. Yep. And then they decided to add a message onto the parachute.
I saw that. I love the coded message on the parachute. Just everything's an ARG these days.
So, but maybe if they had your printer blocks, they could, do a little bit better.
Well, all they need is a 3D printer, and they could have all the printer blocks that they want.
Yes, this is true.
See, that's the point. So it's funny actually. That's a terrible transition, but
I know. It was meant to be a terrible transition how I did it. But
I also have Naomi Wu's belt printer that I haven't put together yet. I still need to put this sucker together. But
can I say this first? You guys suck.
For having
Right.
it?
I'm getting one too because I was one of the first 300 on the Kickstarter, so I got it.
So was I actually.
Price, but I don't
Yeah.
get it until they ship.
Yeah. So you both suck.
But here's the thing about it. I was looking at it and saying, man, with this, I could just crank out printer blocks all day long. But because it prints at an angle, it messed up all the geometry in my printer blocks, and they won't print on this thing unless I print it on like an angled platform and then pop them off at the end. So now the one thing that I'm wondering though, and this is completely, off the topic, but here we go. What if they could, okay, so the head's at an angle, right? And the belt's going like this. They could still potentially treat it like a 2D plane and move it back and forth, and then move it up and move the plate with it, and then do the next plate back and forth and side to side. And they could essentially build in a traditional way. They just have to, every time they move up in the Z, also move forward in the Y. And then left and right and forward and backward become the same. And then when they're done, pop it off the build plate and print. So we could still do, I think, nobody's done this yet, but using the belt printers, we could have continuous printing, but with traditional orientation.
That would be interesting.
And but I think if you went too far back under the print head, it would be peeling off the bed.
Yes, you would have to have your angle be your cantilever arm be a little bit far forward so that you can go forward and backward enough. You are correct. But still, the geometry. Now, the other problem is your head is still angled, and so you're squirting out filament at 45 degrees to do this. But I still think it should work.
It could work. I think so.
And the other thing that I'm going to do when I put mine together is I'm going to kind of move the head so it's not quite as high an angle, but not quite straight up and down either. I'm gonna kind of do it at 22 and a half or something.
And in between. Yeah.
And in between, because you still want it to be at that angle, especially when you're printing at an angle. But if you, so many people are having trouble getting it to stick to the build plate, and a few people that I've seen who have lessened that angle get it to stick to the build plate, but because it's still at an angle, they can still. It means that your extrusions are coming out as a wedge, but it works so far. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to getting that because I've got some things that I want to print that are like drawer organizer type things that are longer than I can print on any of the printers that I've got. The biggest bed I've got is like 300 by 300, and I need something that's in like the 500-ish range.
Yep.
Maybe
and
600.
Yeah. Well, and what's exciting about this is printing at an angle.
You poor man. You've got a 300 by 300.
But what's exciting about printing at an angle
poor deprived
is how
man.
the top surfaces become edge surfaces. And so, the adherence is different, but it also means that you can get higher detail on what used to be the top surface because it's now the edge surface. It's just a 45-degree edge surface. I'm so excited about the possibilities this printer opens up. I also want to do an animation where I 3D print a Chiba walking or something like that, and then take a picture of it as it hits the end of the bed, and just frame by frame, and do a 3D printed animation as they fall off the edge of the build plate, just taking the frames as they hit the right spot.
Yeah, have
I
like
think that'll be fun.
15 or 20 of them that you print where they're in a slightly different pose at each print.
Oh, I'm probably going to do about 100 in the end, and I'm going to try and make the animation so at the end he realizes he's falling off the thing, and then and then the last thing will be it falling off into the bucket full of all the previous frames.
Yeah, I actually
give them away at a convention or something.
I actually saw some with an anicubic photon. They did this with like little alien-looking frogs. They had them like moving. They had do the stop motion with them. It was really cool.
It is really cool.
I'll have to try to find it, but all that work they did just to do that was pretty cool.
There has already been several feature length and feature film 3D animation movies that use 3D printing. Paranorman, Coraline, all of those characters were modeled in the computer, 3D printed, and then like the faces. Yeah, the bodies were traditionally animated with a rig and skeleton and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The camera down just a little. But the faces, to get the facial expressions, they just literally pulled the face off and put the next face on. And they had modeled those all and 3D printed them all. It was cool.
They've done that a lot more so lately. I'm trying to think, was the last one they did that?
Kubo and the Two Strings.
That's exactly the one I was trying to think of.
I know.
But yeah, it is so cool that they did that with 3D printing, and they utilized 3D printing to do stop motion.
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's totally possible.
It's so cool that they have done so many things nowadays with it, that it's increased their ability to do things with it. Yeah.
So Wally says, I'm waiting until we can print with atoms as filament like Replicator in Star Trek. So first of all, don't hold your breath. You'll turn blue.
And die.
But, okay, so if we are going to do a 3D printing process on an atomic level, which I think is not impossible.
No, it's not impossible.
But that's more of like a really tiny pick-and-place machine, isn't it?
Well, but that's the thing. If we're doing it atom by atom, it will take too long to print anything. I mean,
so you think 3D printing is slow now?
Yeah, no, I'm doing a 5-hour print right now, and I'm printing like 16 printer blocks. Okay, no, we can't do this atom by atom. And I'm just trying to push it off. What we're going to have to do is have some way of telling the atoms, okay, this is where I want you generally, and then throwing atoms at it and having them fall into place and settle into place. The same way that we do with biological printing.
Yeah.
We kind of say, this is the shape that you are, here, go. Bleh. And it just sticks to it and knits itself into place. And that's about the only way that we're going to be able to make this happen. So what I'm saying is it's going to be it's not going to be, we're going to call it 3D printing because I think that's still going to drive the clicks or whatever attention, but it's going to be a very different process than the layer by layer building that we're used to thinking of. And it's going to, I think, look a lot more like Star Trek, where it just kind of like the silhouette of the object appears and it just goes whoop, and then there's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although it would kind of be cool if like,
but to also
part of it would form and then it would just kind of like grow from there. Here's your steak that you just watched grow out of the plate here. Yep. But that looks delicious.
Here is the problem as well with the replicators. And have you guys ever watched Eureka?
That was the TV show where they were in a town of geniuses.
Yes.
I watched it up until the season where the entire season had been sponsored by Axe body spray.
Yes.
And I just couldn't handle the product placement at that point, and I quit watching.
So there is a point, and I don't remember if it was after that part or before that part. They had almost like replicators to build the ship to go to outer space that they had. But it pretty much did what replicators do. They're little tiny bots, but you still have to have raw material to harvest to make said things. You can't just make something out of nothing.
Yeah, it's a gray goo scenario.
Yeah. So you have to have something. So speaking of something, you've got something in your hand.
No, actually, I've got a fidget cube in my hand. This is not printed blocks. This is a fidget cube. But in my other hand, I have the printed blocks. So
I like the second lion head that you did because it had more of a chin.
Yeah, that's this guy right here.
Yeah.
So
it looks great.
Thank you. Although I just realized, so just for fun, I put him on the chest of a robot here. And it's just a little bit too wide, so the arms can't go forward. So I'm going to have to edit it so that so when this goes live, the lion head will be only 3 blocks wide.
Nice.
You can call in Ivan Miranda, and he can put on the shoulder some spacers.
I don't remember him saying spacers in his videos. I don't think he says a lot.
Oh, he says it all the time.
All the time.
Stop
Spacers.
It.
He even has a shirt that says Spacers.
Okay. I don't watch enough Ivan Miranda. I do watch his. I watched his most recent one where he was making a camera rig, and it was very, very cool. I also worked on these shoulders this week because I've got a roadmap for Print a Block going forward, and it's going to end with the next Kickstarter launching. So giving you guys a little bit of insider information on what my plan is going forward. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if I can share my screen with you guys. So
yeah, just pop it up and I'll pop her up. So you're good.
Let me see. Share screen.
Share.
Okay, that one.
Sharing.
Sure. Hey, there it is. It worked.
So that's your roadmap.
That's my roadmap. It's a literal map. So we are. Oops, we are here. Actually, we're not here. We are here. So the idea is I've been working on. So I've kind of been going back and working on some of the old printed blocks, and there were a couple of things in the old printed blocks that I was never really happy with. But it's been a year since I've worked on them, and the reason why I haven't worked on it for a year is because 2020 had way too many 3D printers for me to review, and I just didn't have time to do work on this sort of thing. There was nothing else that was interfering with it because 2020 was boring besides that. So yeah, no, I just, it's been a weird year. I haven't worked on it, but I went back and I finally got those new hinges. So
nice.
What I've got here, and I don't know why I didn't do this before, I just feel dumb for it, is it's printed block size. It's printed block size, but there's no blocks on the side because inside there is a mechanism to make it rotate, so you can have one piece stationary and the other piece rotate around it.
I like that.
And I mean, it's very simple. It's just an entrapment right there. I should have been able to figure that out a long time ago.
Well, you figured it out now.
And I figured it out now.
They should have figured out, FTL travel by now, but
yeah, but then we would have been colonizing space in wooden stations. But that's allowing my bot to pivot the hip, and I put the same pivot in the shoulders here as well.
Here, let me
actually, there it is. So I've been going back and I've been reviewing the old ones. At the same time, another thing that I could have and should have done better is plating the printed blocks for you guys so that you didn't have to figure out what individual things were. Just print off a whole plate of them at once. Again, this was something that I should have done before. So I'm working on that. And part of this was driven by the fact that, have you heard of the toy box printer?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know who hasn't.
Well, have you used them?
No,
I have not.
I wanted to, but they were gonna save me like $50 to do the review on it. I was like, that's still a lot of money, guys.
You know what, though? Here's what I would say. It is worth it.
Oh,
and
no, I think it is worth it. I want to get one. I just, at that time, I couldn't justify spending the $200 to $250 on that printer to review.
Well, here's why I say that it's worth it. And I haven't done the video on this. I'm going to do the video on it. But I made this printer available for my kids to print with, and they have been printing on it literally nonstop. The toy box took the 3D printing process and made it so easy to 3D print. It actually flipped around and became difficult not to print with it.
Huh.
And that's a remarkable feat. And that's something that I think that anybody who makes 3D printers could learn from. And that's something that I feel like anybody who uses 3D printers could look for in future 3D printers. So they nailed it. Now, the problem with the toy box, though, and I think it's pretty odd. I think the reason why most people who have 3D printers don't buy a toy box is because it's really friggin' small.
It is small. It is small. And that's part of the problem. It's like, that's $250 that I was going to be able to spend, because I think it was originally like $300.
Yeah.
For
a printer that could literally sit. No, it's an 80. It's an 80 or 75 millimeter cube build area. It's tiny. And the entire printer will fit on the print bed and on the print area of your Ender 3. The sucker is tiny.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I've got my Flash Forge, and I can print bigger than that.
So, yes, it's very difficult to look at it and go, this increases my capability to make. It doesn't increase your capability to make, but it's so ludicrously easy to use. And so I'm going to take the printer blocks and I'm going to put them on the toy box, but I'm going to do it in plates that are, that 75 by 75 build area.
Yeah.
And the advantage to a 75 by 75
build area
plate is that if you have an Ender 3, you can do 2 of them,
Yeah.
So this I think is a great size for a plating, but I wouldn't have thought of this before seeing the toy box, because it's small enough that, first of all, that doesn't take very long to print. Secondly, if it fails, it doesn't take very much with it. It's just a very small amount to lose. Although I have not seen a failed print on the toy box yet. And they've been printing with it nonstop for a month. Not one failed print.
That's pretty cool.
That is impossible, but they've done it. They've made a printer that's super reliable, even though it's super tiny. So I'm going to take these plates that I'm making for it. And so I'm just basically taking the different plans that I've got, plating them out, and it might be 2 or 3 or 4 plates for a light mech or a medium mech or things like that. So that's fine. 2 or 3 or 4 plates, 2 or 3 or 4 prints. You got them. You're done. But it's better than like 200 parts that you're printing or whatever you're doing,
Yeah, no, I agree, because that was kind of frustrating.
Yes.
And I do say a little frustrating to do, because I mean, yes, I had actually loaded up my printer to do that, and I was just trying to get the ones that I wanted and needed on there to do it, and I was just like, this is a hassle.
It is a hassle, and I knew it was a hassle at the time, and I didn't know what the solution was until I saw the toy box. And once I saw, on the toy box, I could have done 1 piece at a time and just did like 2. Then I was like, if I put these on a plate, and these are small plates, and like a little light bulb went. So I've been working really hard on that, and so I'm going to be taking the printer blocks. And I'm going to be putting them up on Toy Box, and I'm talking to the Toy Box people, and it's going to be a premium thing. Although, if you want the base block, and I will say this again, but your simple base blocks, the ones that don't have any fancy artistic elements to them, are available right now on prusaprinters.org and My Mini Factory. They're out there for free for everybody, and so. These ones will be free on Toy Box, but then the bits and bobs and the plans that will make cool little robots, not counting the lion, because that's the upcoming Kickstarter, will be a premium add-on onto that.
So here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you upgrading multiple things from the previous Print a Block Kickstarter?
So yeah, like I said, I had to revisit the hinges. I had an idea for a pivot block during the Kickstarter that just didn't
yeah.
work.
Yeah. So what's that mean for the people who backed your last Kickstarter?
So what that means is that when I get all of these plated, and when I get everything set up the way that I want to for Toy Box, I've also got to go back and update the listing for everybody who backed, and then you'll be able to go back to 3D printer or 3dpprofessor.com/shop, log back in, re-download it, and we'll have the plates, we'll have the new hinges. So everybody who backed it before will get upgraded into the new ones before the next Kickstarter, God willing. Part of the problem with that, though, is that the system that I'm on, if I add a new zip file and delete the old one, you won't be able to download the old one, but it won't populate with the new one until I go through each listing and say, update the download. And there's now something like 400 downloads that I would have to do that with.
Wow.
Or I have to talk to, and Brian's wearing his shirt, Josh from Alien 3D, who's helping me with this website. If he can give me a button that I can say update the downloads, and it'll just go through and go and do it for me, then everybody will be updated. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes there.
Yes.
But the short version is yes, people who backed it will get the new update, and that update I will be telling people about next week when it happens.
Okay. So
God willing, all things working out.
Well, yeah. So I just wanted to see, because I didn't think about it till you were just talking about it. It was like, well, what's up with all the people who've already backed the original one? And so
you're like, you leave me hanging, Joe. No. I got you, man.
So your new one, how many new things are you going to have on there? You've got your lion head.
Okay, so the new Kickstarter. So after I get that done, I need to finish modeling the lion. I'm going to be modeling the lion. I'm going to be modeling legs for him. I'm going to be modeling a new body block. And the new body block is essentially going to be a 2 high, 3 wide, but then it's going to have an angle in it. But I'm also going to have 2 high, 3 wide. The new addition to the base blocks are going to be not just, your singles and doubles and triples and angle blocks.
Yeah.
But they're now going to be 2x2, and they're going to be 2x3 and 2x4 and 3x2 and 3x3 and 3x4. And so we're going to now start branching out in 2 dimensions on the base blocks. So that'll be the addition to the base blocks. But then, I'm going to have body parts for me. And you ask what's coming next? I don't know. You guys tell me what you want me to work on, because that is how my Kickstarters work,
Oh yeah.
It's a collaborative process. And if you guys are like, hey, we want to see, racing snails, cool, we'll make snails. Hey, we want to see, Tyrannosaurus Rexes, cool, let's do T-Rexes.
That would be cool. That would be a cool print of block.
Well, and T-Rex was one of the ones when I proposed the idea. So if you haven't already, the Kickstarter updated recently with pictures of all the potential future.
I did actually see that.
One of them under the beast was a T-Rex.
Yeah.
But what other animals do you want? There was an old series of toys called Zoids. Zoids?
You're talking about Zoids.
The name is terrible.
Zoids.
It's the stupidest name ever, but coolest darn looking animal bots.
They're awesome. And they had to call them Zoids because so you had Voltron and Power Rangers, and they're called Zords.
Yeah, they're called Zords in Power Rangers.
And in Voltron. So you had to call them Zoids and Zoids. So they were not copywriting.
They should have called them something else entirely, because Zoids reminds me of Avoid the Noid. I'm sorry, they failed on that one.
Well, the Noid was kind of a failure anyway. I hated that character.
How about the character, I thought?
Well, it made me dislike Domino's pizza, so it didn't succeed in making me order the pizza.
succeeded on keeping
Domino's
him away.
Pizza didn't do that by itself. I mean, it's Domino's Pizza.
It gave me a reason.
I mean, Papa John's is good stuff, but you know,
And,
we should start a fight in the comments about who's the best delivery pizza outside of anybody from New York.
I know it's not DiGiorno's.
Well, nope, can't be. So yeah, animals. What animals do you want to see? I'd love to see a wolf.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'd love to see a long neck dinosaur. I think it'd be cool to have stubby little leg. Rhinoceros, I think, would be cool.
Oh yeah. And I mean, technically, if you did certain things, you could mix and match, and you can make yourself like a hippogriff.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I took this. You know, we can even mix and match them with the mech parts and make, you know, part mech, part animal, mechs with animal parts. Why the heck not? Yeah. Let's go to town on this.
It'd be all a mix and match.
Mix and match. Nice. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to use that one in an update. So I'm going to film an ad for it, and I've got an idea for a couple of ads in my head. I'm going to have like the entire lion together, you know, and I'm going to have my kids playing with the mech parts. Well, so I've got a couple of ideas. One idea.
You got your lion head in my robot. You got your robot in my lion head.
Well, one thing I was thinking of doing was doing it like an old 80s ad for like Transformers toys, you know. The war for the printer block mechs, as the war for the printer block mechs rages on, from the wilds comes printer block beasts, you know, and write
comes
a
with
whole
everything
script.
you see here.
That's right. You know,
Batteries not included.
make as many as you want. You know, there's going to be some mention about make as many as you want with your 3D printer, you know. And because these are only for your 3D printer, the possibilities are endless. You know, something. But you know, make it
Unless you run out of filament.
Unless you run out of filament. So you know, do something along those lines for it. And my wife was like, we could go full WandaVision on this, and you could do one from like the 40s, and you could do one from like the 2000s. And I'm like, honey, I would love to do that, but I want to launch this Kickstarter this decade.
Speaking of, have you guys watched the finale?
I have not watched the finale, so shut your mouth. No, it's good.
I haven't watched any of it, so shut up.
Okay, so with pretty much most of the episodes, you get an end credit scene. With the finale,
can I mute you? Can I mute you? I know there's stuff already.
No, but with the finale, there's the end credit. Then there's a very end credit scene.
Yes.
So
yes, I've already heard.
Stay tuned for that.
Actually, I was surprised.
And it's got Matthew Broderick going, "What? You're still here? The movie's over. Go home."
I so want that now.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
Oh, that would be good.
But it was pretty good.
Well, I've heard that, but yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I mean, it's only been out for a couple hours. Brian, you know, next time you come over and visit, we'll just sit down and shotgun the whole series. You know, we'll stay up all night and drink bottled water and stuff. You know, yeah.
Topo Chico.
Not sponsored.
Or whatever the horrible sparkling water is you've got.
Yeah. Well, I was going to tell you that story. So, okay, so that's the idea. I'm hoping to launch this Kickstarter at the end of this month. But I got to keep the hype machine going, and I've got to finish all of these you know, goals that I've set out for myself. So I'm basically going to be working on this thing nonstop for a month before I can even launch the Kickstarter. I want to have the lion completely done. Before the Kickstarter launch. And I also want to have like new weapons on there and stuff like that. But I think that most of the weapony things are going to wait for the next Kickstarter, which is going to be when I do the Skyforce when I do spaceships.
Are you going to be doing blades, like swords?
So I've already done some swords with the previous one. I don't know if swords necessarily go with although a sword tail would be pretty darn sweet.
Well, if you did, because as you were speaking about doing like Zoids, they have the scorpion type ones.
Yes.
So you got the guns that are up on the back of it. So there's that.
Yeah, there's going to be some of that going on for sure. For sure.
Gator was saying lightsabers and sonic screwdriver connection blocks, mix and match. I could see him being able to do that, but you also don't want to get copyright infringement.
Okay, so let's talk about how to avoid copyright infringement with this particular idea. So when I go ahead and do spaceships, okay, I can do a set of printer blocks that when you put them all together looks, distinctly like a flying saucer, nice and public domainy. Nobody's going to upset yourself with a flying saucer. But if you have to take like an edge of that flying saucer and pop it off and replace it with a side cockpit and maybe put a hole down the middle of it and make something that looks distinctly like the Millennium Falcon. Hey, listen, I just made a flying saucer. You can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, I knew what you're going whenever you started saying pop that off. The whole time, like, Falcon.
If I take that and I make a rocket that has like warp engines on it, and then you take the flying saucer and you put it on the top of it, and it's distinctly the Enterprise. I didn't make the Enterprise. You did that. I just made a rocket ship and a flying saucer. So I think that I can really easily skirt Creative Commons with it. Now, as far as a sonic screwdriver or a lightsaber goes like that, I think that will be the next Kickstarter where I'm doing basically electronics embedded in printer blocks.
Yeah.
That you saw that one, and I'm still really, really fuzzy on it because like where do the connectors go and how do they connect to it and how does that? I don't know yet. I'm still figuring all of that.
He'll launch that Kickstarter, then the next year he'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that Kickstarter, I don't think that one's going to be a Kickstarter, actually. I think what that one's going to be is just a set that I put, because I feel like I have two options with that. Either I can make this a commercial product that we're putting all the electronics in for you, or you thought that it was bad having to plate them all yourself. Forget plating them and embedding electronics in. That's just asking too much. I'm not going to ask people for money for that much work for them. I'll probably release these ones for free, but I'll probably do it a little bit at a time as I'm figuring this out, because I've got a project here that I've been sitting on forever. I don't know how many of these you've got sitting around, like projects that you haven't even finished. But this is a 3D scanner. It's not so much a 3D scanner as it is something that takes something small and rotates it and then tilts the angle, then rotates it, and then tilts the angle and rotates it. So you can take pictures of it from every single angle and run it through photogrammetry software. And it's got these, making a mess here, but it's got these big arms that the motors go into and it swivels and stuff like that. And the problem is I printed it all out and then I ordered the electronics kits and then I had to wait for the electronics kit. And then the electronics kits came and then I'd lost steam on, sorry about that. I lost steam on the project. But wouldn't it be cool if I just had printer blocks that I could make this same thing out of, and I could prototype it out and I could build the arms and I could make it and then use it and then take it apart and use the parts for something else. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe as I'm working on certain projects, I work on how to embed the electronics into them and then release those a little bit at a time. So I think a sonic screwdriver could definitely be made with those. I think that lightsabers could definitely be. Where's my lightsaber? Hold on one second. I got a lightsaber that you ought to check out. Ugh. But I also have a mess. Printer blocks all over the place. Oh, actually, Mr. Walligate, you're going to love this, though. So stay tuned. So this was a lightsaber project that I did. Okay. And the basic idea here, and I think I need to, yeah, completely dead. So I just chained a bunch of LEDs together and then put a battery and a button together. And unfortunately, I soldered the batteries in place because I was like, I'm not going to be like super into this project. The batteries are not going to last as long as my interest in this project is going to last. Okay, I'm not worried about it. Well, I was wrong about that, but yeah, it's a super easy electronics project. Just bunch of LEDs in parallel, 2 batteries, and a button at the end of them. I thought about making a video about this, but I could never really. I'll get the video of it. But then I 3D printed the case for it that it all slides into. And so when this works, which it doesn't right now, but when it works, that lights up like a lightsaber. But look at the shape of the handle.
Sonic.
This is a sonic screwdriver.
Lightsaber. That's pretty cool.
So I've got a sonic screwdriver handle on my Harry Potter wand-sized lightsaber.
I have a sonic screwdriver.
Hey! It's an actual screwdriver, though.
Yeah, it is. But it looks so much like a sonic screwdriver.
It does. I've actually got one of those long, thin screwdrivers, and I was like, I should make a case for this that makes it look like a sonic screwdriver. And then I was like, oh, no, wait. The fact that it's small and sleek and can fit in places is kind of what I like about it.
Yeah. Well, plus it's got a little microprocessor and a screen, and
that seems excessive.
You not seen these things?
I haven't seen that one, but I've seen a different one.
Yeah, it's got an accelerometer in it, so you kind of press the button and you just turn it in the direction you want it to go.
Ooh.
And it adjusts the speed and all that on it.
I like it.
Cool.
I like it real well.
Yeah, no, that's very enviable.
And it makes a noise with a little gear train inside, so it sort of sounds like a sonic screwdriver.
So, yeah, I like it.
So the fun thing about this print, though, do you see how it's all colorful? How I achieved that was I used a dual nozzle printer, and the right nozzle was loaded with black, and then the left nozzle I changed gray, then yellow, then red, then gray, then red, and the black. So just having one color just having the black that went throughout the whole thing allowed me to just change one color. I didn't have to change them both. The black just stayed the whole way, but it is the most colorful 3D print I've ever done.
I like it.
Outside of course, the Da Vinci color prints.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but
that was a 3D color inkjet. Da Vinci, right?
Well, I made a video a while ago where I was like, I'm done with this thing. It's just not working. They release new inks that they say will last longer. They release new filament that they say will last longer. So after this printer block Kickstarter, I'm going to have to buy some and try it out and see if they're meeting their promise. I still want to believe in this technology. I really do. So I guess I'm not done with the Da Vinci color like I thought I was. Oh, Mr. Wally Gator, dude, I hope for you to get cool toys one day. You deserve cool toys. But I mean, you can always make your own toys.
Mm-hmm.
I finally went and cashed in my printer block mix Kickstarter thing while we were here, so I've got those downloaded now.
And now I'm going to update them with plates.
On the order.
Oh, let me check that. Let me see that. I'm waiting for my page to update.
Please wait. Your click is very important to us.
Yeah.
Please stare at the screen, and your click will be processed in the order in which it was received.
I'm glad you got that down to $0. That was good.
Yeah.
Hey, nice. Hi, Joe. I'm hanging out on the stream with you and AA Ron, and remembered I needed to pick these up from the Kickstarter. So I'm glad you finally did that.
Me too.
There you go.
But yeah, now you can start printing your own cool robos.
Yeah.
And other things. Robos and tanks and cars and all sorts of fun stuff.
Robots.
Widgets and gadgets.
Widgets and gadgets.
Some fidgets.
Robots.
And oops. Yeah, I was playing with them before, so that's some of my set right there. Oh, and you know what? I will this coupon code is still active for anybody who's watching and hasn't picked up the full set and would like to get the Kickstarter set. Use the code VRRF2020, which is no longer 2020, but who cares? The code still works to get $15 off. And you can use that you'll get $15 off the Print-A-Block Mex Kickstarter set. You'll get $15 off the Low Poly Dino Kickstarter set. You'll get $15 off the World of Cheapamalls Kickstarter set if you are so inclined. Any one of those sets or all of them, you can get $15 off each with that coupon code. So
awesome!
You could save a maximum of $45.
You could save a maximum of $45 if you spend more than that. But that's yes. That math always made me laugh. But hey, if you're inclined to get them anyways, and you have it, and you're like, hey, I don't want to. He jacked up the price after the Kickstarter because, of course, I did. That's what you have to do. I don't make these rules. This will jack the price back down a little bit, about most of the way.
The more you spend, the more you save.
By that theory, eventually, if you just spend more and more money, eventually they'll be paying you, right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Well, and also I did if you go on Twitter, I updated the mailing list because there are some very cool sets that you can download online for free right now, including the very awesome Valkyrie Print-A-Block set, which honestly is way cooler than it has any right to be. And you guys should go check that out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, it was cool though, right?
Yeah. Because you've got the booster, the booster packs on them as well.
I didn't make that set. That was made by somebody else because I open sourced the Print-A-Blocks. Yeah, I said, here's how I made the Print-A-Blocks. Here's the file for making Print-A-Blocks go to, and he did. He made his own Print-A-Block based on, and I love that. I want this to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love making these sets, but these modeling projects, these modeling Kickstarters, are just like a modelathon for me to kick my butt in gear so that I will focus on a project for a period of time. Yeah, I if other people do that, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad at all. I don't think anybody is going to do it more than me, but if that ends up being the case at some point, I'll deal with it. I'll cope. I'll cope with having made something that took off that somebody else ran with,
Yeah.
Have a hard time feeling bad about that. Tim says, I saw your tweet and downloaded those sets today. They are incredible. Honestly, I checked his hinges, his ball and joint hinges. I think they're better than mine. But I think that he also remixed them from somebody else's. And so I can't use them because of the licensing of that.
Yeah.
But I can learn from them.
Which we're always learning something. So. But yeah, no.
Mr. Walligator, so he says, I'm 60 now. My wife and kids say no more toys for me. Well, then get a Toy Box 3D printer and say it's for them. And it actually, the Toy Box 3D printer, I think, is a fantastic 3D printer to hand to kids or the grandkids and hand them the app or hand them the website and say, here, just print whatever you want and let them browse through the catalog and let them print whatever they want. They will have no end of fun. with this sucker. It's really good.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I could see your printed blocks doing good on that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I hope so, yeah. I think that would be a great second market for them. I also think that would be a great second market for the Chibi malls, but I need to do more with the Chibi malls to promote them. I know this is not the audience for talking about Chibi malls because you guys are like, oh, kids' toys. I like them. They make me happy.
Printed blocks technically kid toys, though.
Yeah, okay. There's like adult fans of Legos will justify print-a-blocks. There are no adult fans of like Fisher Price toys that will justify cheap malls.
If they've got kids.
That's the thing. It's it all of a sudden the Venn diagram of the people who like owns a 3D printer, would be into printed blocks, would be into cheap malls. Yeah.
Well, see, whenever I did the print-a-block Kickstarter, I also got your Chiba malls along with it.
Have you printed them out?
I have printed a couple of Chiba malls.
They are the greatest prints to just keep on hand. They're great test prints, and friggin' everybody loves them. You know, you just say, "Hey, what's your? Pick your favorite animal." We'll just print them out, and everybody's like, "Dang, that's fun. That's cute." I don't know if the whole set is like an enviable thing that anybody wants, but those are great gifts to give to people. They really love them.
I've got the dinosaurs is what I have, and
the dinosaurs I feel like we could print a whole set of and not feel bad about.
I actually printed a Stegosaurus for somebody, and my son actually printed a Stegosaurus for him as well. So
my favorite two out of that entire set was the Brontosaurus type one with the long neck and the kind of squat body. Mm-hmm. I don't think I have it up here any longer. I've got it in a box somewhere, but I had printed it with some kind of silk rainbow PLA or something, and it came out.
I remember that print,
in mango colors, and so I call it the Mangosaurus.
The Mangosaurus. I remember that one. That was so cool.
And then I've got my other favorite one is the articulated pterodactyl, because it looks like a spaceship.
And that one was fun. I almost feel like if I were to revisit the low poly dinos, I would want to make a whole set of articulated low poly dinos that print flat, and then you pull them out and the legs fall up underneath them and stuff like that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I printed those on my Flashwords Finder. So and they came out so phenomenally, just great.
So what I loved about the low poly dinos doing that Kickstarter was I learned so much about dinosaurs during that month. I learned things like I thought dinosaurs. I know dinosaurs. I've been into dinosaurs since I was a kid. Not like this, man. You do a month of doing dinosaurs, and boy, the one that still sticks with me the moment the dinosaur that I was doing research on, and I was like, what the heck was the Dracorex Hogwartsia. Have you heard about this one? It's in the print-a-block kit. They think that it's a adult version of the Stickling Moloch, the one that locks its head and ram stings, and that's also in the low poly dinos. They think that this is like a more mature version, but because dinosaurs are the way they are, they all get their own separate names and classifications. And they found basically 7 bones. 7 bones. That they said, yeah, this will go here, and this will form the ridge line, and here's what the rest of it looks like. And they said, it looks like a dragon. We're going to call it the Hogwarts dragon, the Dracorex Hogwartsia. And I was like, bull crap. I want to be a paleontologist, find 7 rocks in the desert and go, hey, it's a dragon. It's a Hogwarts dragon.
Well,
you can start out as an intern. You'd be an unpaid paleontologist.
Oh, crap. How long have you been holding on to that one?
I just made it up.
It did not smell fresh. Wow.
That does smell fresh.
There's Joe crying foul.
Yeah, yeah. That was some foul language there.
Brian farted and the chamber was set towards go to Joe and just all that smell there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow, that was good.
You know how they've done a lot of the dinosaur bones is they've replaced them with like other animals' bones because they don't have a bunch to make them up. You know, one dinosaur they've never actually found really mostly anything other than the skull.
Which ones?
The Sculosaurus?
The T-Rex. The T-Rex is the one that they have not really found a lot of bones for it other than the skull.
So maybe those little tiny arms were from a prey animal.
Well, not attached. Well, and the same thing with the Brontosauruses and a lot of the long neck dinosaurs. The skulls are never attached on those dang things.
Yeah.
The bodies and the heads are found in separate locations, and they have to just kind of go, oh, look, they fit together, I guess, it's kind of interesting them putting them together. Another thing that I think that is really interesting, some artist drew a representation of like this new dinosaur. He took a cow skeleton and skinned it the way that we skin dinosaurs, and it ended up being much more gaunt and close to the skin. And he made a very good point about the fact that maybe these things were a little bit more fleshy than we're giving them credit
they were
for.
chunky.
Well, and then there was because the whole thing about we're finding feathers on raptors and things like that, and what other dinosaurs were feathered and stuff like that, and they think that the T-Rex was feathered. And so the artist who draws One Punch Man, the manga One Punch Man, drew T-Rexes as giant fluffy birds with one foot on a car or stuff like that. I love that idea so much. I love the idea of this giant canary. And then I'm reminded of Bugs, where the bird was the bad guy on it. But I love that idea so much.
Well, you might like this idea too. So the theory behind why they don't find many of the bones for the T-Rex is because they're hollow, and hollow bones don't really fossilize.
No, they degrade. So
just like bird bones, they're hollow.
So the T-Rex is a dragon.
It had wings. Or it's a predecessor to birds.
Hence the tiny arms for like the end of the wing for on the wings.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, gentlemen, I'm gonna have to
Skadoodle.
Yeah, no, it's been an hour and a half. It's getting pumpkin time for me. So, Aaron, how do we want to wrap this up?
Well, when is your Kickstarter going to launch for your second one?
I have a goal to have it by March 27th, but there's a lot of things going between here and then. But my goal is to be ready to launch on March 27th, to hit go on it, and then to run it until what's the next month after March? April 24th. So it'll be less than 22
days. About 22 days.
Well, no, it'll be 24th plus a week. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it'll be 28 days.
So
because I needed to start and end on a Saturday. I just don't have time otherwise. But yeah, that's my goal, is to start it on is to have it ready for launch on March 27th. That's a little bit ambitious, but they're all a little bit ambitious. Still got to film the ad for it. Still got to finish the lion. I got to get, I got to be working on those front back legs, and now I got to do a sword tail, which is going to be super awesome.
Well, just don't be lying around anywhere.
Oh, nice one.
So, all right, everybody.
You are a beast.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode.
Well, thanks for inviting me, man. Thank you for being here, Brian.
Appreciate you all popping
No
on here.
problem. It was fun.
And the 10 people that ended up popping in, we're sitting at 5, it says right now. So thank you. We greatly appreciate. We still have had the same conversation no matter what. So
yeah. This is hanging out, and you guys get to
interact.
interact.
Yeah. So greatly appreciate it. And, we will talk about his Kickstarter coming up on a couple of the later shows coming on, because that's what we do. So,
well, if you guys promise to print out some, I may send you guys the lion ahead of time to try it out.
Okie dokie.
If I can mount it to my wall, it'd be nice.
Wouldn't that be
Print
fun?
it big.
Oh, dude, that would be really cool.
Talk to Joe, and you can get ahead.
So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We will catch you all next week on Chris's channel, and we will see you then. Everybody take care. Have a making. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.